The sun rose fully over Earth, casting golden light across cities that had once been silent. The glowing towers now pulsed calmly, their energy steady and harmonious. Shadows no longer moved independently. The strange presence that had haunted the humans had vanished. Captain Elias and his crew stood on the tallest platform looking out over the city that was alive, vibrant and yet familiar. "This is incredible," Lieutenant Mara said softly. "Earth has changed, but it's beautiful, strong, alive in ways we could not imagine." Elias nodded. "It is more than beautiful. It is ours again, and we are part of it." Humanity survived the stars, faced unimaginable dangers, and returned home. Now Earth itself recognizes us. Torres walked along the edge of the platform, scanning the streets below. The energy readings are stable. The towers are no longer hostile. They respond to our presence, but in a calm, balanced way. It's as if the planet itself trusts us. Mara smiled faintly. Trusts us, or expects us to protect it. This planet is alive. It can sense courage, intelligence, and unity. We are part of its future now. Elias looked at the horizon. The destroyed cities below were slowly beginning to change. Tiny sprouts of plants glowed faintly where the alien energy met soil, and the crew realized that nature itself was merging with the planet's new power. The energy that had once been a threat was now an ally, a resource to rebuild and strengthen humanity's home. "Then we start rebuilding," Elias said. "Not just structures, but life. Humans will return to the cities, and we will make them thrive again. We will adapt to Earth's new form, and it will adapt to us. Together we will grow stronger than before." Teams were sent out immediately. Engineers and scientists began examining the glowing towers, trying to understand the energy flowing through them. Mara and Torres worked alongside the crew, learning to communicate with the energy, to guide it in ways that benefited humans and restored balance to the environment. "This energy is incredible," Mara said one morning. "We can use it to stabilize buildings, power equipment, even enhance growth of crops. It's more than technology. It's alive, and it wants to help." Torres nodded. "It's like Earth itself is teaching us. The lessons we learned while traveling among the stars, combined with this energy, make us stronger. We have an opportunity no other civilization has had." As weeks passed, humans began to reclaim the silent cities. Streets were cleared of debris, broken buildings were stabilized, and energy from the towers guided construction. Crops grew rapidly in controlled zones, nourished by the planet's power. Humans marveled at the way Earth seemed to respond to creativity, teamwork, and determination. Mara stood in the middle of a newly restored park, watching children, descendants of explorers who had remained in space colonies playing among glowing plants. She realized that life was returning not just to cities but to the spirit of humanity. The planet had been silent for decades, but now it hummed with cooperation, hope, and renewal. "Captain," Mara said one afternoon, "I think Earth is learning from us as much as we are learning from it. The energy, it grows with us. It improves when we work together, when we protect each other." Elias smiled. "Then we must continue to do so. Humanity's role here is not just survival, it is stewardship. We are part of this planet, and it is part of us. Together we can create a future stronger than anything before." The crew discovered that some areas of the planet were still dangerous. Pockets of unstable energy remained, remnants of the alien presence that had merged with Earth. The shadows were gone, but strange phenomena occasionally appeared, brief, intense flashes of light, unusual magnetic fields, and whispered sensations in the mind. "We will study these areas," Elias said, "but we will not fear them. They are part of the planet's history. Understanding them will help us protect Earth in the future." Mara and Torres led expeditions into these regions, using carefully crafted instruments and their own instincts. Each time they returned with valuable knowledge, slowly mastering how to coexist with the living energy of Earth. They realized that fear could not guide them. Only intelligence, courage, and adaptability would allow humans to thrive. Weeks turned into months. Cities were rebuilt and humans returned in growing numbers. The skies were no longer empty. The hum of energy blended with the sound of life. Birds, animals, and humans coexisted alongside the living towers, forming a new ecosystem that respected both nature and the awakened power beneath the planet's surface. Elias walked through one of the restored districts, observing the progress. Buildings stabilized by Earth's energy seemed stronger than before. Streets pulsed faintly with light, guiding humans safely. Children played among glowing gardens, their laughter mingling with the hum of the planet. "This is only the beginning," Elias said to Mara. "Earth has given us power, knowledge, and a second chance, but the responsibility is ours. We must protect it, guide it, and grow with it," Mara nodded. "And we will. Humans are not just visitors anymore. We are guardians. We will not let this planet fall into silence again." As the humans continued their work, they began leaving records for future generations. Messages were stored in both digital and physical forms, but more importantly, lessons were embedded into the living energy itself. The towers and streets would remember human courage, ingenuity, and teamwork. The planet itself became a teacher for those who would come after, ensuring that the mistakes of the past would not repeat. One evening, as the sun set and the towers glowed softly, Elias addressed the entire crew. "We came back to a silent Earth, and we found more than we expected. We found danger, power, and change, but we also found opportunity. Humanity has proven that we can survive, adapt, and reclaim what is ours. Earth is alive, and so are we. Together we will build a legacy that will last for generations." The crew listened, hearts filled with pride and hope. They had faced terror, uncertainty, and forces beyond imagination. Yet they had prevailed. Humans had not only survived, but had grown stronger. Earth had awakened, and in doing so, it had made humans its partners, its guardians. In the months that followed, the planet continued to flourish under human care. Technology and energy worked together seamlessly, blending past human knowledge with the living power of Earth. Crops thrived, cities pulsed with energy, and humans learned to communicate subtly with the planet itself, feeling its guidance and responding with respect and intelligence. Mara watched the horizon one morning, feeling the warmth of the sun and the hum of the towers beneath her feet. "Earth is more than home," she said quietly to Torres. "It is alive. It is aware. And we are part of it now. We are its future." Torres smiled. "And what a future it will be. Humans survived the void of space, returned to a planet that had changed, and now we will thrive here, stronger than ever. This is our legacy." Captain Elias joined them, looking out over the city. "Remember this moment," he said. "We are the first to reclaim a living, awakened Earth. The choices we make now will guide humanity for generations. We are not just survivors. We are creators, protectors, and guardians, and this is our home again." The wind carried a faint hum through the city, soft and reassuring. The energy of the towers pulsed gently, responding to human presence, alive and aware. The planet that had once been silent now spoke in quiet, vibrant tones, guiding humans to coexist, to build, and to protect. Humans had returned, and they had faced the unknown. They had confronted fear and power, learned from the past, and embraced the planet's living energy. Earth had changed, but humanity had grown with it. Together they had forged a bond stronger than any threat that had ever come. And so the humans of Earth began a new era. They were explorers, survivors, and guardians. They respected the power of the awakened planet, learned from its lessons, and built a future that no other civilization could imagine. The silent Earth was no longer silent. It sang with life, energy, and hope, and humanity would ensure that it never fell into silence again. Captain Elias, Mara, Torres, and the crew stood together on the platform as the first full day of the new era began. The city below shimmered with energy and life. The planet itself seemed to breathe, calm and strong. Humans had returned to a silent Earth, and in doing so they had awakened its greatest potential. They had faced terror, uncertainty, and mystery. They had survived. They had adapted, and they had claimed Earth not just as home, but as a living, thriving partner in humanity's future. The legacy of courage, intelligence, and unity would last for generations. And as the humans looked out over the glowing cities and vibrant lands, they knew one thing for certain. Earth was alive. Humanity was alive. And together, their story had only just begun. Ethan stood at the edge of the human colony, staring at the stars that stretched endlessly into the darkness. He had spent years in the crowded city, surrounded by noise, deadlines, and endless responsibilities. Every day felt like a repeat of the last. Something inside him had broken under the weight of it all. He needed space. He needed freedom. Most of all, he needed a place where no one would watch, judge, or interfere with his choices. That's when he found the Outpost. Reports had labeled it abandoned for centuries. It was an alien installation, far from any trade routes, hidden on the edge of known space. No human had lived there in memory. The record spoke of strange alien machines, powerful energy systems, and architecture unlike anything humans had ever built. For most people, it would be intimidating, maybe even dangerous. For Ethan, it was perfect. It was an opportunity to start over. The journey had been long. Ethan's small starship hummed as it cut through the void, lights flickering across the control panels. He checked his maps, confirming the coordinates again and again. The closer he got, the more he could see of the outpost's outline. It rose from the barren surface like a relic from another world. Its towers were angular, metallic, and covered with layers of dust and moss. Strange symbols decorated the walls, glowing faintly in places where the alien material seemed to remember the touch of life. When Ethan landed, the ship's thrusters stirred the thick dust that covered the landing pad. The silence that followed was absolute. It was almost deafening. No birds, no wind, no hum of distant machines, only the faint vibration of the planet beneath his boots. He stepped out carrying a small pack of essentials and a portable scanner. The outpost's entrance was massive, shaped like a half circle with doors that looked as if they were carved from a single piece of black metal. Strange lights pulsed along the edges, faint but steady, as if the building itself were breathing. Ethan hesitated for a moment, feeling the weight of history pressing down on him. This was no human construction. Whoever had built this had been far beyond anything he had seen. With a deep breath, he pushed the door. It responded smoothly, sliding open with a soft hiss. Inside, shadows stretched long across wide halls. The walls were covered with panels that Ethan could not understand. Symbols moved and shifted when he looked away, as if the architecture were alive in some way. The air smelled metallic, but not unpleasantly. It was clean, cold, and alive with a faint hum of energy. Ethan stepped carefully. He set down his pack and activated his scanner. The device beeped rapidly, showing readings of power, but nothing he could identify. Some systems were offline, others barely active. It was clear that someone or something had once cared for this place. He could imagine aliens walking these halls, tending to machines, performing experiments, or simply living, and now he was alone in the silence. He explored slowly, touching the walls, opening doors, and peering into rooms filled with alien technology. Some rooms were storage chambers with strange tools he could not name. Others seemed like laboratories. He saw devices that floated slightly above the ground, panels that reacted to his presence, and energy sources that hummed with potential. Despite not understanding much, he could feel the intelligence behind every design. These beings were masters of engineering. Humans were still children compared to them. By late afternoon, Ethan had set up a small living space near what looked like a central hub. He unpacked his supplies, connected his ship's power converter to the outpost's energy grid, and watched as lights across the halls flickered on. The outpost slowly came to life around him, though still quiet, still empty. He realized he had a lot to learn. Every corner of this place held something new, something alien, but that was exactly what he wanted. A challenge, a puzzle, something bigger than himself. As he settled down, Ethan's attention was drawn to a door at the far end of the main hall. It was sealed with a complex pattern of lights and symbols. The air around it vibrated faintly like a heartbeat. He had not noticed it before, or maybe he had avoided it. Something about the door called to him. He walked closer, scanning it with his device. The readings were strange, powerful but unlike anything he had seen. It was as if the door itself was alive, waiting. Curiosity overtook caution. Ethan placed his hand on the smooth surface. The symbols shifted beneath his fingers, glowing brighter. A wave of energy pulsed outward, and for a moment he felt a connection he could not explain. Memories that were not his swirled in his mind. Visions of alien beings moving gracefully, tending to strange devices, talking in a language he could not understand. A flicker of sadness passed through the visions. A sense of loss, of something abandoned, of a civilization that had vanished. Ethan stepped back, heart pounding. He had no idea what he had just touched, but it had changed something inside him. The outpost was not just a building. It was alive, or it had been alive, and it had remembered him in its own way. Night fell on the barren planet, and the outpost glowed faintly under the stars. Ethan ate a simple meal from his pack, thinking about the possibilities. He realized that staying here would not be easy. Learning to live in a place built by beings far more advanced than humans would take patience, intelligence, and courage. He was willing to try. He had nothing left to lose. As he lay down in the small quarters he had prepared, Ethan could not shake the feeling that he was being watched. Not by people, not by machines, but by the outpost itself. The faint hums seemed to shift as he moved. Shadows danced on the walls and the sealed door pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat in the dark. Sleep came slowly. His dreams were filled with images of alien halls, glowing devices, and a presence that seemed to guide him. He felt both afraid and exhilarated. Tomorrow he would explore more. He would learn. He would survive. And perhaps if he was careful, he might uncover the secrets that the outpost held. Morning came with pale light filtering through high windows. Ethan rose early, eager to continue his exploration. He examined more rooms, finding panels that could store data, devices that generated energy, and tools that seemed to repair themselves. Everywhere he looked, he saw evidence of intelligence, precision, and care. Then, in a corner of the central hub, he found something extraordinary, a small device, almost like a tablet, glowing faintly. Symbols moved across its surface as if it were alive. Ethan reached out and immediately the device responded. Images appeared. Maps of distant star systems, blueprints of ships, and diagrams of energy flows he could barely comprehend. His heart raced. The outpost was a treasure trove of knowledge. If he could understand even a fraction of it, humans could achieve incredible things. But he reminded himself to be patient. Rushing would be dangerous. The aliens who had built this place were long gone, but the technology remained, waiting for someone clever enough to learn from it. Hours passed as Ethan explored, recording what he could, taking careful notes. He found chambers filled with equipment, some clearly for study, others for defense. He realized that the outpost was not just a home. It was a base, a laboratory, and a fortress all in one. Whoever had built it had been prepared for anything. Late in the day, Ethan returned to the sealed door. He could no longer ignore it. The device he had found earlier seemed to react to it, glowing brighter when he approached. He knelt, studying the symbols, trying to understand their meaning. There was a pattern, a logic, but it was unlike any human system. It would take time, patience, careful thought. And yet, despite the uncertainty, Ethan felt excitement. This was what he had wanted, a place where he could start over, a place where he could learn, grow, and become more than he had ever been. He felt a connection to the aliens who had once lived here, a sense of continuity across time and space. As night fell again, Ethan settled into his small quarters. The sealed door pulsed faintly in the darkness as if it were alive. And for the first time in years, Ethan felt hope. The outpost was not just a refuge, it was a beginning. Something was waiting for him inside. Something that could change everything. And Ethan knew he was ready to find out. The next morning, Ethan woke with a determination he had never felt before. The sealed door at the far end of the hub had been calling to him, and he could no longer resist. He spent the first hours studying the strange symbols and the patterns on the floor in front of it. They pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat, and the device he had discovered the day before reacted whenever he got close. He set up his scanner and started mapping the energy flows around the door. The device projected a holographic display, showing lines of power running like rivers across the floor and up the walls. Ethan could see that the door was linked to something far more complex than he had imagined. It was not just a simple chamber. It was a gateway, a central node for the outpost systems. For hours he worked patiently, experimenting with small touches, careful movements, and subtle adjustments. Then finally the door responded. The symbols glowed brighter and a low hum filled the room. A soft vibration ran through the floor beneath his feet. Ethan's heart raced. He pressed his hand gently against the surface, and with a hiss the door slowly opened. Inside was a chamber unlike anything he had seen before. The walls were covered with panels that pulsed with light, and strange machines floated in midair, spinning slowly, their purpose unclear. The room smelled faintly of ozone, and the air hummed with energy. At the center, a large device sat on a raised platform. It was circular, with tendrils of light flowing across its surface, moving as if it were alive. As Ethan approached, the device reacted to him. A projection appeared above it, shimmering and translucent. He blinked and took a step back. It was a figure, tall, elegant, and humanoid, but clearly alien. Its features were soft yet defined, and its eyes glowed faintly, filled with intelligence. "Welcome," the figure said. in a voice that echoed in his mind rather than in the room. "I am the archive. I contain the knowledge of my people. You are the first human to enter here." Ethan swallowed hard. He had expected machines, devices, maybe some recordings, but a conscious archive that could communicate was beyond anything he could imagine. I'm Ethan," he said slowly. "I didn't mean to intrude, I needed a fresh start." The archive seemed to smile. "Intentions matter less than actions. You have curiosity, patience, and courage. These are traits that will allow you to learn." Ethan's mind raced. He had questions, hundreds of them, but he also knew he needed to approach carefully. What is this place? Who were your people?" The archive's projection shimmered. "We were explorers, builders, and protectors. This outpost was part of a network across the galaxy. We studied the stars, cataloged planets, and protected civilizations from threats that humans cannot yet comprehend. But our people, we were hunted. Most of us vanished, leaving only these outposts behind." Ethan felt a chill. He had expected abandonment, but not this. He realized he was standing on the remains of a civilization that had been both advanced and vulnerable. Hunted by what? A species known as the Predators. They travel from system to system, destroying those they considered dangerous or valuable. We fought, we hid, we recorded, but we could not survive forever. Ethan thought about the danger this meant. If these predators still existed, and if humans expanded too quickly into space, they might encounter them. The responsibility weighed on him, but a spark of excitement also grew inside. Here in his hands was knowledge that could change humanity's future. The archive guided him through its systems. Ethan learned to access records, view maps of alien star systems, and study technology far beyond human engineering. Devices repaired themselves at his command, energy flowed efficiently, and machines responded to his touch. He realized that the aliens had designed everything to be intuitive, for a being capable of learning quickly, and humans, with their creativity and adaptability, might just be capable of mastering it. As hours passed, Ethan discovered chambers that seemed to store biological data, memories, experiences, and perhaps even personalities of the aliens themselves. Some projections showed peaceful moments, aliens exploring strange planets, observing stars, and building intricate machines. Others were filled with tension, warnings about the predators, defensive measures, and desperate attempts to preserve knowledge. Ethan spent days learning, experimenting, and testing. He discovered a device that allowed him to access past memories stored in the archive. By focusing, he could see through the eyes of the aliens themselves. He watched them work on the outpost, teaching one another, solving problems, and preparing for challenges that humans had never faced. He learned their methods, their thinking, and their respect for intelligence and courage. One evening, while reviewing a memory sequence, Ethan accidentally activated a defensive mechanism. A wall panel opened, releasing a stream of energy that could have been lethal. He jumped back, narrowly avoiding it. The archive spoke calmly. "Curiosity is valuable, but care is necessary. This place was built to protect knowledge, not to harm those who respect it." Ethan laughed nervously. "I think I just found the fine line between curiosity and disaster." Over the next few weeks, he continued to adapt. He modified his living quarters with alien technology, using energy shields to protect from the planet's harsh weather, and creating systems that provided light, warmth, and even food synthesis. He learned to operate alien machinery that could manipulate matter at a small scale, repairing broken devices and even reshaping tools for his own use. But the greatest discovery came one night when he returned to the sealed chamber after hours of work. He noticed a soft glow behind a wall panel he had not examined before. Pushing it aside revealed a small compartment, containing an object that seemed organic yet mechanical. It pulsed with energy, almost like it was alive. The archive spoke. "You have found the core. It contains the essence of our civilization. Knowledge, strategy, and understanding are embedded within it. Few can access it safely, and fewer still can use it wisely." Ethan's pulse quickened. "Can I use it?" "Yes," the archive replied, but with caution. "The core will amplify your abilities. Your mind must remain clear. Your intentions must remain true." He reached out carefully, and as his fingers touched the core, a wave of information flowed into him. Images, thoughts, and understanding filled his mind. He saw alien designs for ships, energy systems, and even defensive strategies against the predators. But he also felt the emotions of the beings who had created it. their pride, fear, and hope. For hours, Ethan remained connected. When he finally pulled away, he was exhausted but exhilarated. He understood things he had never imagined. And he knew that the outpost was no longer just a place to live. It was a school, a laboratory, and a fortress. Humanity had a chance to rise, but only if he learned to wield this knowledge wisely. The days turned into weeks. Ethan continued his studies, documenting everything in ways that humans could understand. He experimented carefully with alien technology, creating tools and devices that could help him survive and perhaps defend against threats in the future. Every success brought new confidence. Every mistake taught him caution. One evening, as he studied a holographic map of the galaxy, the archive spoke again. "You are progressing. But know this, knowledge is only part of power. Strategy, patience, and courage are equally important. The predators are still out there. They will notice unusual activity. You must prepare for the unknown." Ethan nodded. He understood the warning. Living here was not just about survival or curiosity. It was about preparation. One day, humans might leave their colonies, reach the stars, and face dangers they could not yet imagine. The outpost, with its knowledge and technology, could give them an edge. That night, Ethan slept with a sense of purpose. For the first time in years, he felt that he was exactly where he was supposed to be. The outpost had chosen him, and he had chosen it. Together, they would uncover the secrets of the past and perhaps secure a future for humanity among the stars. As he drifted into sleep, the core pulsed faintly, and the symbols on the walls shifted in patterns he could not yet understand. He had begun a journey that would change everything, not just for him, but for all humans. And the outpost, silent yet alive, waited for the next step. Weeks passed, and Ethan had settled into a routine. Each day he explored more of the outpost, uncovering chambers filled with alien machinery and devices. Some of them were harmless, serving as storage or energy systems, but others hummed with potential that he could not fully comprehend. His knowledge of the outpost grew, but so did his curiosity. He wanted to understand the aliens completely, their technology, their plans, and most importantly, the threats they had faced. One morning, while scanning a hall he had not fully explored, Ethan noticed a hidden doorway behind a wall panel. The panel slid open smoothly when he touched it, revealing a long tunnel descending deeper into the outpost. The air was cooler here, and faint lights lined the walls, pulsing slowly. This section of the outpost had been untouched for centuries. Dust covered the floor, and broken devices lay scattered in corners, their purpose a mystery. At the end of the tunnel, Ethan found a room that made his heart race. It was massive, almost like a hangar, and at the center rested a dormant ship. It was unlike any human craft he had seen, sleek, metallic, and glowing faintly with energy. The ship seemed almost alive. Its surface rippled slightly as if it were breathing. Symbols along the hull shimmered, responding to his presence. Ethan stepped closer, feeling a mix of excitement and caution. He had learned to respect alien technology, knowing that a single mistake could be dangerous. Using the core and the archive, he began examining the ship's systems. The holographic maps and control panels inside the hangar lit up when he approached. "This ship was built for exploration and defense," the archive said, its voice echoing in his mind. "It contains systems capable of responding to threats beyond human comprehension. It has been dormant for centuries, waiting for one who can understand it." Ethan's hands trembled with anticipation. He activated some of the minor systems, watching as energy flowed through the ship's circuits. Lights danced across the hull, panels opened, and tools extended automatically. It was as if the ship recognized him. A thrill ran through his veins. Humans had nothing like this. With patience and intelligence, he could learn to use it. For days, Ethan studied the ship, slowly understanding its controls and functions. The archive guided him, but he also relied on human intuition. He discovered that the ship could manipulate gravity fields, create energy shields, and even project holographic decoys. It was a weapon, yes, but it was also a tool for survival, exploration, and research. One evening, while exploring a storage compartment on the ship, Ethan found something alarming. Small drones left behind by the alien creators were still functional. They emitted weak signals but seemed to scan the surrounding area continuously. The archive's voice warned him. "The activation of the ship has sent a signal," it said. "Others may be aware of unusual activity. You must proceed carefully." Ethan paused. He had not considered that the predators might still exist, watching from afar. The thought made him uneasy. but it also strengthened his resolve. He had a chance to prepare, to learn, and perhaps to give humans an advantage in the future. The next day, Ethan decided to push the ship's systems further. He activated a series of holographic simulations, testing its defense and navigation capabilities. As the ship responded flawlessly, he realized the aliens had created something that could be adapted by humans, if humans were clever enough. Then a new discovery changed everything. While exploring the ship's storage systems, Ethan found a set of star maps marked with the locations of other abandoned outposts. These outposts were spread across the galaxy, each containing knowledge and technology like the one he had found. He realized the aliens had planned a network of knowledge, intended to survive even if their civilization fell. The implications were staggering. Humanity could use this network to learn, grow, and protect itself, but it also meant that the predators, if they existed, might notice unusual energy activity across the galaxy. Ethan understood that using the technology openly would be risky. He would need strategy, patience, and intelligence to prepare for what might come. Late one night, Ethan explored a memory archive stored in the ship. It showed images of the predators, enormous alien beings that moved through space like hunters. They destroyed planets, outposts, and civilizations without hesitation. The archive also showed the alien creators fighting them, using cunning, traps, and advanced technology to survive. Some outposts had been lost, but others had been hidden carefully, just like this one. Ethan shivered. The images were frightening, but he also saw patterns. The aliens had learned to predict the predators' behavior, and their strategies could work if humans were clever. His mind raced with possibilities. If he could master the technology, study the maps, and prepare carefully, he could make the galaxy a safer place for humans. The days that followed were filled with intense study and experimentation. Ethan worked tirelessly, connecting the core, the archive, and the ship into a single system. He created small defensive drones, energy shields, and adaptive tools that could respond to unexpected threats. With each success, his confidence grew, but he also knew he was not yet ready to face any danger outside the outpost. One afternoon, while analyzing the star maps, Ethan noticed something strange. A faint energy signature moved through one of the distant systems marked on the map. It was subtle, almost undetectable, but it suggested that he was not completely alone. The predators, or perhaps another unknown presence, might still be active. He felt a mixture of fear and determination. He could not ignore the warning. He spent the evening preparing contingency plans. The ship's defenses were fully operational, and he had set up monitoring systems around the outpost. He realized that knowledge alone would not be enough. Humans were clever, adaptable, and creative, but preparation was key. He could use the alien technology to give himself an advantage, but he had to think like both a student and a strategist. That night, Ethan reflected on how far he had come. When he first arrived, he was searching for solitude and a fresh start. Now he was part of something much larger. The outpost, the archive, the ship, and the network of alien outposts. All of it represented a legacy of intelligence, courage, and survival. He was not just living in an abandoned place. He was learning to master a civilization's knowledge and preparing humanity for a future it had not yet imagined. As he lay down to rest, the ship's systems pulsed softly around him. The core hummed faintly as if approving his progress. Ethan felt a deep connection with the outpost, the aliens who had built it, and the vast universe outside. He understood that his journey was just beginning. There were dangers, yes, but also incredible possibilities. He slept with visions of star systems, alien designs, and energy flows dancing in his mind. He imagined using the knowledge he had gained to protect humanity, to explore, and perhaps one day, to confront the unknown predators with intelligence and strategy. Morning came, and Ethan was ready. He would continue his work, exploring more of the outpost and preparing for the challenges ahead. The discovery of the ship, the core, and the archive had changed everything. He realized that the abandoned outpost was not just a refuge, it was a starting point for humanity's rise in the galaxy. For the first time in his life, Ethan felt that he was part of something greater than himself. He was not just surviving. He was learning, growing, and preparing, and when the time came, he would be ready to face whatever waited beyond the stars. The outpost had given him a home, The archive had given him knowledge. The ship had given him power. And now, with courage, intelligence, and determination, Ethan would turn these gifts into a future for humans that no one had ever imagined. Ethan had grown confident in the outpost, but he knew he was not entirely alone. The faint energy signatures he had detected weeks ago had grown stronger. Something or someone was approaching. The core and the archive pulsed softly, alerting him to unusual activity in the surrounding star systems. The feeling of being watched returned, stronger than before. He spent the morning reinforcing the ship's defenses and running simulations on the drones and shields. The archive guided him through tactical scenarios, showing him patterns of attack the alien civilization had faced in the past. Ethan learned quickly, combining his human intuition with the alien strategies. He was clever, adaptable, and focused, and the outpost seemed to respond to him in ways that surprised even him. By mid-afternoon, the energy signatures became clearer. Small ships or drones were moving through the system, scanning for life and activity. Ethan watched the holographic displays with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. These were not alien explorers like the ones who had built the outpost. These were observers, and they had no interest in communication. The archive spoke. "You are being observed by entities similar to those that destroyed our civilization. Your actions have triggered signals that can be detected across space. Exercise caution." Ethan nodded. He felt the weight of responsibility. He could not allow this presence to discover the outpost's secrets. Yet he also knew that hiding would not be enough. Humans had always thrived by thinking differently, using intelligence, creativity, and adaptability. He activated the ship's systems fully. Energy shields flared across the hangar, and the drones moved into patrol patterns. The ship hummed with life, responding to Ethan's commands as if it understood his intentions. Then he made a decision. Instead of waiting, he would confront the approaching presence, but on his terms. The first contact came at dusk. A small patrol of alien drones entered the system. Their appearance was menacing, but they did not attack immediately. They scanned the outpost carefully, moving with precision. Ethan observed from the control room, using holographic projections to track their movements. He noticed that the drones seemed intelligent. They were analyzing, assessing, testing. The archive's voice was calm. "They are evaluating you." The predators or their scouts often test unknown intelligence before acting. Your choices now will determine whether they perceive you as a threat, a curiosity, or prey. Ethan understood. He needed to prove that humans were not just another species to be ignored or destroyed. They had to see that humans were clever, adaptable, and capable of learning. He activated a series of holographic puzzles and defensive projections across the outpost, inspired by alien designs. Lights shifted, symbols moved, and energy patterns danced across the walls. The drones paused. They analyzed the activity, sending out pulses that seemed to probe the outpost's systems. Ethan watched, heart pounding. The drones were testing him, seeing if he could solve problems, respond quickly, and think strategically. He realized that this was not just survival. It was a test of intelligence. He moved quickly, using the ship's systems to manipulate energy flows, create decoy projections, and simulate defensive measures. Every decision mattered. A wrong move could reveal the core, the archive, or the ship. But every clever move strengthened his position and earned the drone's recognition. Hours passed, and the patrol continued their evaluation. Ethan remained focused, solving one challenge after another. He used human creativity in ways the drones could not predict, combining logic, intuition, and strategy. Slowly, he felt a shift. The drones paused longer at each obstacle, scanning more carefully. They were impressed. They had never encountered such adaptability in a species so new to the galaxy. Finally, one of the drones approached the hangar directly. Ethan held his breath. Instead of attacking, it projected a holographic display of a symbol he had seen in the archive, one representing intelligence, learning, and patience. The drone had acknowledged him. It was testing him, yes, but it had also recognized his potential. The archive spoke proudly. "You have demonstrated human ingenuity. The drones have recognized your intelligence. They will retreat for now, but they may return. You are not yet ready to confront the full threat. Use this time to prepare further." Ethan exhaled. Relief and excitement surged through him. Humans had passed the first test. They had proven that they could think, adapt, and learn as quickly as the alien civilization that had built the outpost. But he knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers, and the predators were patient. Over the next few days, Ethan focused on preparation. He studied the drones' behavior, noting their strengths, weaknesses, and methods of analysis. He improved the ship's systems, creating new defenses, adaptive strategies, and countermeasures. Every day he practiced, learning faster than he had ever learned before. He also continued exploring the outpost. There were more rooms, more devices, and more data waiting to be understood. One chamber contained storage of alien research, chemical, biological, and mechanical studies. Ethan realized that humans could learn not only to survive but to thrive using this knowledge. Energy manipulation, self-repairing systems, and adaptive technology were all within reach if humans were clever enough. One night, as Ethan reviewed the holographic maps, the archive spoke again. "You have done well, but knowledge alone is not enough. You must understand strategy, patience, and foresight. The predators you face are relentless. Their approach is calculated, their attacks precise. You must continue to learn from their patterns and anticipate their moves." Ethan nodded. He felt the responsibility more acutely than ever. The outpost was not just his refuge. It was humanity's opportunity. If humans could master the technology here, they could prepare for challenges that other civilizations had already failed to survive. The next encounter came suddenly. A second patrol entered the system, larger and more complex than the first. Ethan activated all defensive systems, but he also chose not to engage immediately. Instead, he created a series of challenges using holographic projections, energy puzzles, and moving shields. The drones analyzed, assessed, and tested. They were cautious but curious. Ethan responded quickly, combining human intuition with alien technology. He manipulated energy fields, projected decoys, and used adaptive drones to guide the patrol's analysis. Slowly, the drones' approach changed. They moved more carefully, pausing to observe and react to the patterns Ethan created. By the end of the day, the patrol had retreated, leaving behind small devices the archive identified as tools or probes. Ethan realized that these were gifts of sorts, acknowledgments of human capability. The predators, or their scouts, had recognized that humans were clever, adaptable, and capable of learning. Ethan felt a surge of pride. Humans had passed another test. They were no longer invisible in the galaxy. But he also knew the stakes. Each encounter revealed how much could be lost if humans acted carelessly. The outpost, the ship, and the core were treasures, but they were also targets. Every choice mattered. That night, Ethan reflected on how far he had come. When he first arrived, he had sought solitude, a place to start over. Now he had become a strategist, a student of alien technology and a protector of humanity's potential. The outpost had changed him, the archive had guided him, and the ship had empowered him. But the galaxy remained vast and dangerous. The predators were patient, intelligent, and relentless. Humans had much to learn, and Ethan understood that preparation, strategy, and courage would be key. He looked at the stars beyond the outpost, imagining what lay ahead. There were distant systems to explore, knowledge to uncover, and challenges to meet. He knew one thing for certain: humans were no longer just observers. They were learners, adapters, and thinkers. And with patience, intelligence, and determination, they could rise to face any challenge, even those that had destroyed civilizations before them. Ethan lay down to rest, feeling a deep connection to the outpost, the archive, and the ship. He was no longer just a man who had come to hide. He was a pioneer, a guardian, and a student of a lost civilization. And when the time came, he would be ready to meet whatever the galaxy had to throw at him. The outpost hummed softly around him, alive in ways humans could only begin to understand. The drones had come, tested him, and recognized his potential. The predators were still out there, but Ethan had learned the first lesson of survival. Intelligence and adaptability could change everything. Tomorrow, he would continue preparing. He would explore the distant star systems, study the alien network, and build the tools humanity would need to thrive. The outpost had become more than a home. It was a beacon of human potential, a starting point for a future the galaxy had never seen. And for the first time in his life, Ethan felt ready to embrace it all.